Yeah, and he's got to be. I mean, I doubt he's probably not like ripped. He's probably got one like a nice like.
Oh, he's
well, I mean, we see him naked. Yeah,
like a real Sam Elliott, maybe a little meatier, but Sam Elliott.
And just a little bit of gristle, not the full. I mean, he looks great in Metal Gear Solid 2. You see him with a full beard, and it's like, yes, this is Solid Snake's final form.
Since we're just a couple of boys talking about how hot Solid Snake is, you're probably listening to the Big Bang Theory. Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Kyle. And I can't believe, I mean, I know he's in many ways a more iconic actor, but when they replaced David Hayter with Kiefer Sutherland, I was like, nope, not going to work. Not for me. Never again. Some sacred bond of trust has been broken.
Ooh, that reminds me. I can't really prejudge. I'm not paying attention yet. Apparently this next, the third part of the Final Fantasy trilogy, different voice actor for Sephiroth.
Yes. The other guy couldn't come back. I don't think it was anything bad. He's just busy.
Yeah, he's just not paid enough money.
Well, it's funny because the guy who's replacing him, I'm not saying he may be like, this won't make you like him anymore, but in the voice acting community, he is also generally considered to be one of the best. He is also one of the nerdy ones who plays Critical Role.
Oh, those freaks. I actually don't know who any of them are. I just know it's a show, but I bet they're freaks.
Some of them are freakier than others, but yeah.
Good. We have a stupid other thing we should talk about, though, don't we?
Do we have to?
Yes, Kyle. I mean, we don't have to. We've treated ourselves in the past. We can make this one a short one. Well,
I don't know. Maybe you loved it, Nick. Is this the part where you tell me that actually?
And to be totally clear here, when I'm saying make it a short one, not to rob our listeners of our sweet voices, but I'm coming down with some sort of funk, and so I'm using my sheer will to power through this, and I don't have a lot of that. We all know that. So, but let's kick this pig, as a friend once said. The episode.
Poor piggy.
I don't think you immediately empathize with the pig. I think pigs can be bastards, you know?
I mean, what is a pig but a being that was made according to its nature, the same as any of us?
I'm trying to eat less pork because they're smart and cute. I'm not doing a good job, you know. I have this unfortunate theory that the happier an animal is, the better it tastes. But I'm trying to let go of that. That has nothing to do with what we're supposed to talk about. Attempt number 2. Here we go. The episode we watched for today's episode of this podcast was the 16th episode of the 10th season of The Big Bang Theory, officially known as The Allowance Evaporation. The official, unofficial fan summary reads, Sheldon and Amy have their first fight since moving in together, and Raj is shocked at the realities of financial independence when he stops receiving support from his father. You know, I just realized now that, so this is all about the different configurations of who can go to Comic-Con and how it affects all the couples in the show, and Raj, because he's being, well, I guess, you know what? I'm not even trying to separate out these A plot and B plots. We should do that first. Kyle, you start.
Okay, so
Got your ass.
We start with Sheldon doing Raj's finances and being like, "Oh yeah, you're broke. Even though I mean, and they actually make it make sense in a way that's helpful because they're like, you know, even though your daddy has been paying for all of your stuff, because of that, you have an apartment that is way too expensive for you and a car lease that is way too expensive for you. And also you did have a personal credit card and you immediately maxed it out with stupid bullshit. So you are in a lot of trouble financially. So that being the case, you need someone to help you right the ship. And of course, comedy kind of ensues as Sheldon ends up being Raj's like slave driver and financial person, which means that he immediately cuts Raj off from all extraneous spending, including buying tickets for Comic-Con, unless he can find some new way to come up with the money. So a lot of the rest of the episode is Raj just going around basically begging different people for, I mean, I guess that's not fair. He does offer to do things, but
he's begging for the work.
yeah,
it's not
begging
available.
for work. Yeah.
So he's getting a lot of sympathy, I guess. He's not farming for it, but he's getting it in balefuls. And that happens till he ends up with, well, after he hangs out with Bernie and Wolowitz, who have no work for him, because almost like a C-plot, I guess, where, you know, they're all trying to negotiate who gets to go to Comic-Con and who doesn't. It's pointed out that Wolowitz is a father now, and he had not thought of it for 1 second previous to this being pointed out, but that he probably just can't leave his wife alone with a baby for 5 days. And so he does approach her to ask if, you know, and he's trying to sweeten her up, but it doesn't work because he's Wolowitz. And Bernadette makes the deal, is like, oh, you promised you were going to do these, you know, bajillion things around the house to help me. If you can do those, by the time those tickets go on sale, you are free to go. And this is one of the ways that Raj tries to get some work. But it doesn't work because Wolowitz, as very clearly laid out in the episode, as part of this agreement, is not allowed to farm his work out to an Indian man. So Raj kind of just goes away empty-handed until when everyone's getting back at the end of the episode, Wolowitz and Bernie end up giving him some undisclosed sum of money that accounts for all of the back babysitting he's ever done. I can't remember if he actually ultimately accepts or rejects it, though. I know
he rejects it.
Okay, I know he tries a few times. Okay, well, good for you, Raj, I suppose.
No, he's like, it would be, I mean, I don't know. To be honest, I probably would have taken the money, but if anything, it just shows he hadn't been ground down and desperate enough yet. But his logic is clear, which is it'd be a little weird if the only reason I was doing all of these nice things for you was because you were paying me, and I don't want to introduce that dynamic into our relationship. So, but yeah, that is noble, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Raj is trying to be a big boy and go his own way. So great thing to introduce near the end of the series. We'll see if it's successful in these last couple blissful seasons. All right. Doing this also weirdly, insanely out of order. I think our B plot is the Leonard and Penny side of things, which is each of them.
Leonard doesn't want Penny to go to Comic-Con because she'll have a shitty time, but she keeps insisting on going because she thinks Leonard will want her to go. And so they're each trying to subtly, psychologically convince the other person that she shouldn't go to Comic-Con, but while refusing to admit that neither of them wants her to go to Comic-Con. So they each think the other person really wants her to go, even though neither of them does.
Yeah. Also, I realized I just made a mistake. We have to go way back to the beginning. This is not the allowance exhaustion, or whatever the hell I said is.
Yeah, that was last week.
Yeah, that was last week. I'm looking at the Comic-Con conundrum. In that summary I said, gibberish. You know, that's where I am as far as my my illness is going with my mind. But we
you know, it's so funny because I did not even notice, which means that either I am more checked out than I thought, or it's basically one episode summary is basically the same as the next.
It's all gleep glop gloop, buddy, you know. But anyway, we were getting to they're both betraying each other in an aim to please each other. Oh, what a classic couple conundrum. Which, and the reason I finally realized I was looking at the wrong thing is I was like, I can't recall what fight this was that Penny and, not Penny, but Amy and Sheldon must have had, because it completely slips my mind, and then realizing, oh, that's because that wasn't in this episode. This is the one time my lack of memory was based in reality and not just like issues with mental health and drug use. So I feel modestly vindicated. Anyway, Penny and Leonard, they figure it out eventually, all thanks to Sheldon and Amy, who try to stay out of the fact that each of them knows half of the equation to whether Penny and Leonard actually want to go to Comic-Con. And actually what was like, I think the biggest bummer part of the episode, now that I think about it, is Amy and Sheldon are about to meet with Penny and Leonard. And as soon as Penny and Leonard meet them in the apartment hallway, they start fighting about who gets to drive. And it starts getting so intense and weird and petty that it makes the other couple uncomfortable enough to say, "You're deceiving each other." And breaks down the agreement to not get involved and instead calls them out for their deception and lies. And that kind of fixes it, doesn't it? Is there more to that?
No, there's a funny bit where Leonard's like, "Wait, so you don't want to go, and I don't want you to go, so you can just not go, and does that mean we're cool?" And Penny's like, "Wait, I'm trying to decide whether I'm mad at you for anything. Nope, checks out, we're good."
Yeah, so, I don't know, I did think it was funny, not in a ha-ha way while I was watching it, but, I guess just in a life is sad kind of way that it's like, oh, this is the episode about how both of them, when they try to make each other happy, fail miserably, and how they do have to lie to each other to keep things going. I'm glad Sheldon clears all that up. So he's the real hero here. Raj gets to, win his dignity back, but Sheldon is what's breaking down the walls that exist between these folks. Stewart's also there for a moment, and he's sad not to be included in things. Fun fact. Someone that I know from Missoula, Montana, who also has recently moved to LA, is involved in the production of the Stewart Tries to Save the Universe or whatever show. I learned that 2 days ago.
Well, do you mean he was involved with the production? Because I'm pretty sure it was canceled after a single season.
Isn't it just now starting to appear on HBO?
Oh, yeah. But no, I thought it was out already. And I thought it had already been canceled.
I think it is premiering, now.
Oh, that does make sense why I saw the billboard just the other day. And I thought, I don't know where I was so sure that it was not. Maybe, anyway. Okay.
Yeah, maybe they wrapped on the season, but yeah. Anyway, small world, I guess. Kyle, would you like to move on to things we enjoy?
Hell yeah.
I have one loaded. Should I go first, or shall you?
You can go first.
All right. I have still been on my old French kind of psychological thriller. I guess this one is more in the noir category. The noir category of things that have been appearing on HBO thanks to the weird Criterion Channel connection they must have. And this one in particular was called Elevator to the Gallows. Dun, dun, dun.
That's a pretty heavy metal title.
Yeah, it's sick. That's why I went in knowing nothing about it based on title alone. And I believe the French, which I'm going to pronounce completely incorrectly, is Ascenseur pour l'échafaud. Who knows? Who knows?
Said it so confidently anyway. That's all that really matters.
That's correct. If anything, I just failed to commit to the bit, and I have to work on that. Anywho, this film, based on the Wikipedia, is from 1958. But more importantly, it is about, from the outset, there is already an agreed-upon plan between a man who works at some big fancy-schmancy company to run off with his big fat cat CEO boss's wife. And all they have left to do is to execute the plan. Spoiler alert on what is, a almost 70-year-old film. They immediately execute the plan. And so it is mostly about this man and woman trying to pull off the follow-up, I guess, the aftermath of a betrayal and a murder of her husband. And what happens, though, is this being 1958, this fancy schmancy building they're in, where our main character is in one of the offices near the tippity top. he's leaving very late because that's kind of part of his explanation for how he had the time to execute the plan, I'll say one last time. And in leaving late, he rushes out, realizes he forgot some pretty obvious evidence back at the scene, rushes back in, but then on the way down, someone shuts down the power to the building, including the elevators. And so the primary plot begins with this man who is stuck between floors on an elevator, having just murdered his boss to run off with his wife, his boss's wife. And then a bunch of other stuff happens, Kyle. Stuff which, even though it is a 70-year-old film, I would feel like kind of would be spoilery. A couple teens that are almost completely unrelated from our main character get involved in their own crime plot and go joyriding and car thieving. And it does all add together very clearly, but it's, I wouldn't say convoluted, but it just has a lot more moving pieces than I would have thought already, based on knowing that a man is trapped in an elevator, and that seemed like enough for a movie. But yeah, it was great. Also, the soundtrack is by Miles Davis. You like Miles Davis? That was a fun thing to learn, but I was more caught up by the elevator action. So yeah, elevator to the gallows. Kyle, your turn.
All right. So I also have a movie to recommend, although it is not as classy as that one. If anything, it is the opposite. It is, in many ways, the apotheosis of like a mainstream sort of everything you could want, like over the top action movie from a previous time. I think the main, like it was good, but I think part of the main appreciation I had for it was A, I had somehow gone so long without seeing it, and B, having seen it, I was like, oh, this is exactly why they stopped making these movies, because this was it. This was as big as they could go down this particular lane. And the movie I'm talking about is, I think 1993 or 1994's True Lies.
Oh,
starring
damn.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, and Jamie Lee
No,
Curtis.
not fuck Tom. Tom Arnold is I get why he's in the movie, every movie. Like, it's so funny, again, because I realize how it's like basically Vince Vaughn's character in Mr. and Mrs. Smith is also Tom Arnold's character. It's like, you can't have a badass who doesn't have some kind of like sassy comedic sidekick to do running commentary. I hate that. It's my least favorite part. I mean, he does have some funny lines, but
I need an everyman to let me know how I'd behave in that situation. I'm Tom Arnold, you see?
yeah. So yeah, he's fine. Also incredibly misogynist in a way that I think just passed muster as normal in 1993.
Sure.
But the way like every other word out of his mouth is like, bitches, man, you can't trust them. I'm still somehow your likable best friend. I've had 4 divorces and I've managed to decide it's all their fault every time.
Yeah, that's always good when you know a man can confidently blame every other person he's ever been in a relationship with.
No, but anyway, True Lies is, I guess, part of what's in. I mean, there are a couple of interesting. First off, it's just a big schlocky action movie. At least that's how it begins and how it ends. But I guess there are a couple of interesting things starring, again, Arnold Schwarzenegger at his Arnold Schwarzeneggerist, with all of the pithy one-liners before he blows people up and kills them in comic ways, just like at his peak. But it's directed by James Cameron, so the actual action sequences are incredible. Like the cinematography, the level of technical proficiency. I mean, this was right around the time he was making Terminator 2, and he was just hot and he was doing everything well. He would go on a couple of years later to make Titanic. Dude fucking knows how to shoot just about any kind of tense sequence he wants to shoot. And so it looks really good. The entire opening is essentially an homage to like James Bond movies, because if I haven't explained yet, have you seen this movie, Nick?
Oh yeah, this was a teen favorite of mine.
Okay, yeah. It's very clear that at some point in his life, James Cameron wanted to make a James Bond movie, because this movie just starts out with an homage to like every classic James Bond movie ever, because Arnold Schwarzenegger is a spy and he infiltrates a lavish building and, flirts with some, knocks some guards unconscious, flirts with a sexy lady, and then proceeds to like escape in an explosion, and he's chased, by skiing guards shooting machine guns at him. And then he goes home and you find out, he's not actually, he is this international super spy in the James Bond mold. But also, can you believe he's married to a normal lady and has a normal teenage daughter who does not respect him? And, he's just sort of in between adventures. He is just, also has a family. And again, that's one of the better. So that element really, I think, elevates things, because a large portion of the movie is actually about how bad he is as a father and a husband. Like, in a way that I feel like today you couldn't get away with, because if anybody was showed to be just as terrible at it as he is in that movie, you would lose all sympathy for him. But this was basically, like, again, I guess at a time when they were like, well, he's not actually sleeping with any of the women he could sleep with, and he does show up and, kiss his daughter on the cheek before going off, and disappearing for another 6 days at a time. What more could you possibly want from a male interacting in a household?
Yeah, I'm just imagining articles that are like, the dad from True Lies is problematic actually, and then giving the lists of just, classic action dad things that are very on the nose.
Yeah, he is. It's problematic in a funny way, but it's like, at one point he's like, my daughter wouldn't do that. She's only 13. And Tom Arnold's like, she's 14, buddy.
Yeah.
It's just like jokes like that throughout. But anyway, so there's this. So in the middle of the main plot, which is the action plot about, can you believe it? An Iranian terror cell that is tired of U.S. involvement in the Middle East and the U.S. constantly being like, we get to control everything you do, because and so their solution to that is, we're going to get our hands on some nuclear weapons, and then you're not going to be able to tell us what to fucking do anymore. Can you imagine how quaint 1993 was? We've come so far.
Yeah, when it would have just been easier to steal the nuclear weapons than to have all this conflict about it.
Yeah, but so that's like the main action plot that Arnold has to stop. But it gets like about halfway through, after like several big action sequences, it just takes a break from all of that to be like, I think my wife is having an affair. Because he does. He begins to suspect that Jamie Lee Curtis, he doesn't it is actually pretty confirmed. Jamie Lee Curtis is seeing another man.
The coolest guy.
Yeah, played with just to remarkable perfection by, who is it? Game Over, man.
Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton, yeah. Bill Paxton at his Bill Paxtonist, doing a great, just another perfect sleazemo. Like, there's a scene when, Arnold Schwarzenegger goes undercover. He doesn't really have to go undercover because the guy doesn't know who he is, but he's hanging out with this guy to try to figure out, like, what's the deal between him and his wife. And the dude's just talking about, women and, scoring pussy and all of that stuff. And he says some of the just most awful, like, hair-raising things you can imagine about women. And my wife turned to me and was like, is this how men used to talk to each other, like, whenever women weren't around? And I'm like, well, famously, that was Donald Trump's defense. So for the first time, I was like, maybe he's right. Maybe this was at a certain time and place, the understanding of how dudes talked in private to each other. But anyway, so there's this whole, like, middle part where Arnold Schwarzenegger is like, I've screwed up my marriage and I have to put it to right. And he does so by abusing the civil liberties of everyone in his family. And so badly. I couldn't help but think, as I was like, it's funny and charming the way he has his wife black bag kidnapped in order to confront her about her potential infidelity. But all I could think was, wow, we really just have been taking the Constitution for granted even longer than I thought. Because it's never like, what you're doing is horrifically illegal and unethical. It's mostly like, should you really be spending this much time and CIA resources to try to stop a nuclear, or try to stop your wife from having sex with a used car salesman when there's Iranians trying to steal a nuclear bomb at the same time? And it's like, I don't know, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
Well,
he's trying to juggle two important jobs, Kyle.
Yeah. And he does. He manages to reunite with Jamie Lee Curtis, and then they go to fight the bad guys. So I need to wrap it up. So my two final takeaways. Jamie Lee Curtis, incredibly hot, which I already knew, but this is like, there's this...
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I had a formative experience in how unfair life is because of this film, Kyle. Because I think maybe you were going to get to a moment where Jamie Lee Curtis does a striptease, and it's pretty tame. I don't think this is a PG-13 movie, but there's no nudity that I recall.
No, but that's a hell of a thong she's wearing. And unless she had a prosthetic ass fitted.
I would love a prosthetic ass.
They make them.
I mean, that's just something for me to think about a bit more, because I like the idea of just having some extra cushion everywhere I go, for business and pleasure. But anywho, like I said, this scene comes up, and I think this is like the first time that like I was watching like this with my family, and it was like a send the kids out of the room, and I was like, I've seen so much like overwhelming, incomprehensible murder through the movies we've watched together, and this is where the line is drawn. Like, do you know how fucked up I already am, and you think this is going to do anything to me at this point? None of this makes sense, man. So
that's fair. That's funny and fair. But yeah, she gives like a dance in her underwear that is just hypnotic. Frankly, it's hard to look away from. Or as Arnold, it's also funny because it's both funny in universe and out of universe, because it's funny out of universe because they tried so hard to make her look mousy for most of the movie. Like they have her in like a big shapeless pantsuit, and they have her in these awful glasses, and then all she has to do is like wear a form-fitting dress and take off your glasses, and you're like, oh yeah, this is one of the most attractive women on the planet, which makes it funny in universe because the whole reason she's so pent up is because Arnold Schwarzenegger hasn't been fucking her. And when you look at this woman, you're like, if this is true, your whole mojo is off, man. No, you aren't who you think you are if you are not taking this lady to Pound Town.
Who are you to say what that would be like if you had Tom Arnold to hang out with the whole time? We're also powerful when we're not subject to that influence, right? But yeah.
Okay. So the last two things I'll say is I miss Arnold Schwarzenegger. I miss that type of action movie where it's like the dude is just so big that when he does stuff that doesn't make sense, you're like, maybe that's just works for you when you're that big. Like, I liked all of the kung fu and stuff that like we got in like more modern action movies, and all like the shaky cam hand to hand feels very grounded and like interesting. But when Arnold Schwarzenegger just takes the bottom of his fist and just conks a guy on the head, and that guy just goes out, I'm like, why wouldn't that work? Why would he do anything else?
Yeah. Why, you think I don't want to see a big guy walloping fools? Like, of course I do. Like, when did that ever go out of fashion? Isn't that, I haven't seen it, but isn't that like 99% of the appeal of that Reacher show is he's just so big and he hits things?
I did immediately think of Alan Richardson. He's kind of the one guy who's bringing it back a little bit, because it's just like, oh yeah, it's like, if you're big enough, you don't need to know martial arts to be plausibly violent. You just need to put your entire fist through someone's face, and you best believe they'd fall down.
Yeah.
But it's so over the top. Like, by the end of that movie, there's like, there's explosions. The entire finale is really breathtaking because it takes place in like while Arnold Schwarzenegger is commandeered like a Harrier jet, which is one of those jets that has like the vertical takeoff and landing. So he's just like hovering in this jet for this entire final action sequences. And I bet it was a real jet because James Cameron's not a bitch and CGI wasn't that good yet. So, you know, I am pretty sure at least some of those shots were actually shot with a real fucking like, you know, aircraft in a way that is, you know, you kind of feel it. And then he kills I'm not going to give it away, but the way in which he finally kills the evil main terrorist bad guy is like the single greatest action movie death that I had ever seen. And I don't think it could ever be topped. I'm convinced that's why they stopped making movies like this and had to pivot to like the Die Hard formula and the others, because after Arnold Schwarzenegger did what he did to that guy at the end of that movie, it was just like, we can't top this. We have to go laterally. We have to find a different direction. You know, like with so many things in his career, James Cameron just set the bar so fucking high that no one else ever even tried to clear it again.
Well, I'm realizing, and I don't even know if this counts, to be totally honest. I think that they were trying to do this with The Rock for a little bit. But he just ain't got that juice. He's just too, I don't know, milk toast, that he doesn't have that like, for better or worse, Arnold Schwarzenegger is like a dude. He is not like the clay to be played. He's like, I love my stogies and I love hitting the guys with my giant body.
It's a weird personality, but it's actually like he pulls off, and it's just he's got Riz coming out of his asshole.
Yeah.
It is just like there's lines in that movie that that should not possibly work. That he, you know, a lot of it is just like your classic like action movie sarcasm, you know, the kind of stuff where like Bruce Willis was like, yeah, man, I know you're going to torture me and I'm going to have a bad time. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger does it. He's like, you're going to torture me and I'm going to have a bad time. And it's like, it's so like, I can't explain it.
That's how you become the governor of California, baby.
Yeah, he gets it. It's like Arnold, it does feel like if you were trapped in a room that like with a bunch of people who are going to kill you and Arnold Schwarzenegger was like, don't worry, I'm going to take care of this. You'd be like, you're just an actor and one of the greatest bodybuilders to ever live, but somehow I believe that you are going to get us out of this and that everything's going to be okay.
I'd feel safe. I feel like as soon as he says it, I'd feel his giant hands cradling me, and I'm just waiting for the moment until that reality is made tangible.
True Lies, man. If you're an I know it was like one of the biggest movies of the 90s and a lot of people saw it. But you know, it's also been a long time. So if you're like me and that was just one that was off your radar, but you're an aficionado in any way, shape, or form of action movies, even the newer stuff. If you want just like a real lesson in how good and crazy big action movies, like just pure action, Hollywood action movies were at their peak, you gotta see True Lies, man.
I sign off on this. I actually should watch it again because I can't remember the last time I saw it. I just know that I've been to that. Oh, right. The hotel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the other fucking crazy thing that was like. There's a whole sequence in it where Arnold Schwarzenegger gets into a shootout with a terrorist in a hotel, and that's the hotel where I got married.
That's where we end it.